The task of a racehorse jockey goes virtually unnoticed. But imagine what it must take to mount a beast 10 times your size, traveling 40 miles per hour, knowing at any moment beyond to assume control, breakdown. We immediately know the fate of this poor, beautiful animal, this bold running machine reduced to a whimpering corpse. But what about the rider? Jockeys only ride every day of their professional lives, risking it all for our pleasure. And at this moment, his or her career may end as well. Poor animal, indeed. Churchill Downs in Louisville, Kentucky, considered the premier showcase for thoroughbred racing in the world, is also home for its most renowned horse race, the Kentucky Derby. It has been for more than a century, first established as the Louisville Jockey Club and Driving Park Association in 1874. Today, its famed twin spires are the universal symbol for this American landmark. And in 1973 was the stage for its proudest steed, Secretariat, who easily won the 99th running in world record time. However, we are not here to praise the great Derby horses. We are here to praise the 11 black riders who laid the foundation for the greatness that is Churchill and the sport of thoroughbred racing worldwide.
Negro involvement in what is known as the sport of kings can be traced back to colonial America and the enslavement of Africans during that era. Fine groomed horses were a symbol of status and power in England and West Africa. Enslaved Africans dominated equestrian activities in America because of prior knowledge and expertise learned in their homeland. European American colonialists readily assigned slaves to the care of their treasured animals and would assign the task of jockeying to young slave boys. Though advantageous to some, many Africans did suffer the burdens of this gentleman's sport, namely through track fatalities and wagering. Because of such intense betting by white masters, entire plantations and slave families were lost and often separated within a short time it took a race to run its course.
Though still somewhat primitive, early American horse racing was a growing industry until the Civil War. Shortly after the war, the sport proceeded with renewed vigor, with black riders at the forefront. The Kentucky Derby is a testament to this fact. In its initial outing in 1875, 14 of the 15 starting reinsmen were black. By 1902, 11 jockeys of African descent rode to victory in this classic American horse race. The first was Oliver Lewis. He glided his colt to a new American record time, edged on by the horse's owner, Howe Price McGrath. In 1877, William Walker took the reins aboard Baden-Baden. He was an expert rider and upon retirement received greater respect as a trainer and breeder. George Jarrett Lewis thundered Fonzo to victory in the 1880 Derby, yet just 2 months later, he died of injuries sustained in a race when his mount stumbled, throwing him into the path of other horses. He was 17 years old. The 1884 Derby shed light on one of horse racing's greatest legends, Isaac Burns Murphy. That year he won aboard Buchanan and would win again in 1890 and 1891, becoming the first time ever a jockey posted successive Kentucky Derby victories. He was also the first to win 3 and was the first rider voted into the Jockey Hall of Fame. Babe Hurd, Erskine Henderson, and Isaac Lewis, 3 other great black jockeys who rode Derby winners during the decade of the 1880s. The motto of Alonzo Clayton was, "Ride hard." At the age of 15, Clayton won his first Derby mount in 1892, establishing himself as the youngest rider to win the Classic. In 1895, 15-year-old James Soup Perkins joined Clayton as the youngest Derby winner. In his only 2 Derby mounts, Willie Sims won them both in 1896 and 1898. These following many successes in England, where he was the first American reinsman to win there. He also became famous for introducing the short riding style known as the monkey on a stick. This method of the low forward crouch and short stirrups is standard for jockeys today. James Wingfield rode black jockey domination headstrong into the 20th century aboard His Eminence in 1901 and Alan Adale in 1902, sharing the distinction of back-to-back Derby wins with Isaac Murphy. It would be 1973 aboard Secretariat before another jockey would do the same. Though Wingfield was a Derby's last great black rider, he was not its last. That distinction belongs to Henry King, whom in 1921 was the lone black jockey in the field. A stark contrast to the first running, which saw only one white. Then, the black riders simply disappeared. The thoroughbred record of January 3rd, 1931 pondered, where are the successors of Isaac Murphy, Willie Sims, and others, whose names were household words and whose feats of horsemanship 30 and more years ago were the talk of sportdom? Common theories offered to answer this question are black migration to the north and west, the increased immigration of Europeans, and ongoing Jim Crow practices. Yet those more closely related to the industry suggest exclusive jockey clubs, which refuse to license black riders, the New York ban on racing in 1911 and 1912, and the image of horse racing itself. With increasing revenues, the sport became more elitist, and black riders were progressively filtered out.
But perhaps he would ride again, summoned by the spirits of his predecessors, those true kings of the sport of kings who truly were the first to ride.
I ride on in my sleep. I ride so hard sometimes. I ride on in my sleep. Ride, 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 shot it ride.